For this unique celebration, Oasis chose to cover George Harrison's Within You, Without You, the track which opens side 2 on the original album.
Hello. Hello. Within You, Without You is really one of those songs that makes Sgt. Pepper's unique, I think.
Noel Gallagher.
It wasn't my choice to do it. I was flabbergasted when Liam said, let's do Within You, Without You. I was like, what? Of all the songs? I would have thought Day in the Life, you know. And yeah, it bent my head, and I was like, right, what am I going to do in it? There's no guitars on it. What's Gem going to do? What's Sam going to do? And then we kind of hit on the idea that, you know, the Love album is a bit where George Martin's mixed Tomorrow Never Knows with Within You, Without You. And we went, we'll do it like that. Me and Gem had gone to Gem's bedroom, we'd done a little demo, and sent one to Liam and sent one to Stockholm to Andy. Honestly, by the time we came to rehearse it, we booked some place. We were done within 10 minutes. You know, we all know what we're doing. We're all big boys, you know what I mean?
So why was he going to change guitars? Why?
Because he wants to stand next to Terry. Oh, that's all. And we were all kind of hoping to do without headphones.
Oh, fine.
You know what I mean?
After we'd done the first 3 or 4 tracks for Pepper, and they, you know, wanted some input from George Harrison, and he came up with Only a Northern Song, and it was like, what, you know? And we recorded it, or tried to record it, and it was sort of shelved for Yellow Submarine, but it also, of course, gave George another jolt, and because he came up Within You, Without You, you know?
There's a lot of stock put in, we're doing it with the Beatles equipment, blah, 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 and all this. And, you know, friends of mine who are doing this thing with us, I go, no, it's going to be great, you know, we're going to use the gear that McCartney used, and, you know, we're going to, you know, the bass sound, it's like, to get that bass sound, you got to have the bass player, and the bass player's doing something else, and to get Ringo's drummer sound, you might have the mics, but you haven't got the drummer, you know, and to sound like George playing the guitar, you've got to be George playing the guitar, I'm afraid. I mean, you can copy it and all that, but, you know, you'll never get it to sound like the Beatles.
Hello? Yeah. It's almost there. We'll just sort this vocal sound out and then we'll take one.
We were talking.
George didn't know the true form of the song, did he? But we thought, because this was going to be George's thing, Richard and I decided to get all the nice, we thought they were nice carpets out for the Indian musicians to sit on, because it started off with just Indian musicians, didn't it? So Richard and I tried to make them as comfortable as we could. It was quite nice, and I'm not sure whether the others were...
They weren't here at all.
They were here to start with, and I think they left.
Yeah, and I can remember on one of the sections, they walked in when George was recording some of them, and I think it might have been Paul, but if you hear the end of one of the sections, there's a tambourine that just goes ching ching. Somebody picked it up, and that was very cheeky.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be there. Someone just picked the tambourine up. The red light was on, we were recording.
Just played along, you know. Apart from that, that's the only person other than George and the Indians.
Never glimpsed the truth. And yeah, 1 second. Have a bit of slap on it and a bit of reverb, please.
Oh, Jesus.
And maybe turn the band down just a touch.
Yeah, Lou, we're just working on that.
All right, mate.
Okay. We got a red light.
I don't know how many people would have the knowledge to go bouncing down tracks onto 2 tape machines and stuff like that. I mean, I still don't understand it. It sounds a bit like maths to me, do you know what I mean? But it stands to reason that, you know, recording music today, it's like science fiction compared to recording it in the 60s. There was a lot less buttons, a lot less colours. It was just kind of bass and treble. There you go. Play it. If it's great, that'll do. We were looking at the desk which is in front of the house desk, which is 3 times as long, twice as deep. It's got about 1 billion more buttons, and each button is assigned a different colour. And we were in there before with Weller, and we're just going, where did it all come from? Instead of bass and treble, why is there now 8 parts of a whatever it is, an EQ? You know what I mean? I guess in the 80s everybody was just trying to look for the new things, you know what I mean? And a lot of stuff that happened in the 80s, bar the odd group like the Smiths, and towards the end of the 80s the Stone Roses and the Star Council and people like that, a lot of it is kind of soulless and plastic. But there are good things to the new technology. It means that a kid can buy a laptop, make an album in his bedroom for 500 quid instead of going to a record label and that. So there are good things, and the new technology is servicing a new generation, you know, and it would be a bit silly for people like ourselves to say, well, you know, the old ways are the best ways and all that. I'm fortunate enough to record our first 3 albums in this manner on tape all those songs are played live, you know what I mean? Some bands these days, they would freak out when they see a tape machine. The Kaiser Chiefs spring to mind, and that's not to have a go at them, they're just from a different generation, do you know what I mean?
Terry, can you start at that strength you ended at the beginning?
Yeah. So you can knock that thing off a little bit, just a touch.
Okay. Hang on. Hold it.
Okay, you're rolling.
Here we go.
Just like the old days, Jeff.
It was new for us as well. We knew about compressing the tablas, so that was good.
George spent a long time doing the sitar. Each little section was dropped in.
George wasn't sure of the way the song should go, and we did it in bits. We did the strings in number 1, and George sang it in number 1. We didn't do it in here. We did the Indian musicians in here in number 2.
The sitar.
It was extremely hard for George Martin to conduct it because it was all in Indian rhythms, and it was like completely alien to George. And I since found out that I think it was supposed to be straight 16 beats in Indian rhythms, and apparently some of the beats are missing. And apparently if you do that, it's an insult to Indian musicians, but this is only something that happened afterwards. But it was extremely complex, I know that much. But it was a great song in the end.
Follow that.
No, if you start playing and we'll run the track and we'll drop it in so it sort of hits rather than sort of creeping, it's up to you.
Okay.
So as soon as you hear something coming, you start playing and we'll drop it in.
Alright. I could sit in that room all day. So I've not been in the control room at all today, maybe twice. It's like sitting downstairs, you know, and I just love it, you know, and it's not often you get to be in this studio and be like a fan, do you know what I mean? I was never a fan of the Beatles at first, I was too young, I was only born in 67, so by the time I grew up, it split up. So it's not often that you get here, you know, to be a fan and go, wow, this is what it must have been like. You know, when the tape machine broke down today, we kind of sat around for 2 hours and we was thinking, well, no wonder they all grew tashes. There's nothing else to do. The tape machine breaks down, you kind of lumbered for a couple of hours, we sat there for 2 hours kind of, let's do it now, you know, sitting around, but that's what it must have been like.
Morning everybody.
Neil set up an area here, didn't he? And there was also an area up this end at one time, wasn't there?
Here where they used to make the tea and
it was so, and it was sort of out of eye shot as well, wasn't it? So they couldn't see.
These screens would quite often be folded out, so there was kind of 2 areas, one for everybody to sit. All the hangers-on would sort of sit here on chairs and just sort of watch what's going on. Drums in the middle, bass would probably go in that corner, and then the guitar amps would be in front of the drums. I mean, it's quite a cosy little setup.
You're playing that bass again.
And then when we did Paul's bass, we used to, don't forget, bring it out from at night when everyone else had gone and the amp was about here, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Are you going to write another? Yeah, okay. Yes, I am, but I just realised.
Unless the old magic sound effects cupboard, which I'm sure has not got the sound effects in it anymore. Do you remember when they used to get bored about doing an overdub? They wouldn't know what to put on as a percussion. So they'd go in the sound effects cupboard and bring out wind machines and bells and hooters and just have a little lig around with that.
I love this building, and it's, I guess because it's part of the 60s, you know, and even like going for a cigarette in the echo chambers before, which is just out the back, is where they used to get all the reverb from. It's still there, still a tiled room, it still stinks, it's damp, but that's where they used to go, you know, well, let's go and have a fag break out the back, and I love all that stuff. I mean, they're the biggest influence on my life, whether it be haircuts, clothes, politics, anything you like, you know what I mean? I'm a Beatles nut, so just being here all day today, you know, it's great for me.